Welcome to TFC Transplant Talk, where you'll find the most up to date information on topics that matter most to you and your loved ones. Join us in our engaging recorded interview series between transplant healthcare professionals and families living the transplant journey. We are your partners in transplant information, improving the lives of both the recipient and everyone around them.
Hi, my name is David. This is my wife, Nancy. We've been married for 19 years now. We have uh, 6 kids total. Nancy, or Nikki, being our second to our last. She is 18 now. And we, she had a biliary atresia at birth, and at 6 months, she got her liver transplant. And we live here in Kerrville, and we've known, we've been affiliated with Transplant for Children for basically ever since she got her transplant at 6 months old. They introduced themselves to us basically in the hospital after the transplant, and it was shortly after that we went to their first get together, which was the Halloween party. And since then, we've been very active with Transplant for Children, even up till today.
Well,
Nancy, did you want to mention anything?
No, that was good. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much. And so we're here tonight to talk about a particular incident that's inspired you and your whole family to speak out about it, and tell us a little bit about that incident that happened.
So, okay, well, although we've had the same pediatrician for 17 years, I became complacent. There's nothing wrong with trusting in a healthcare system, although I fail to acknowledge that healthcare workers do move on to new jobs or careers. I had figured my daughter's files were up to date, and for the most part they were. Yet new healthcare workers may overlook a file of a special needs patient. So at 18, we are learning Nikki's procedure of going from to adult, to transferring to adult, so she can go to the doctor on her own and what have you. So I had allowed her, she just needed some simple things done, at the pediatrician's. And one big thing that Nikki is not allowed to have with her liver transplant is live virus vaccines. And her medical records have information on when there was a mistake that it was given to her as a toddler, and then she didn't receive the second one because her transplant doctor had talked to the pediatrician doctor that she wasn't allowed to have live vaccines. So maybe at the age of 16, some nurses had confronted us, hey, she's missing her second live vaccine of chickenpox. We had refused, and we had let them know that's a reason for that, because she wasn't supposed to receive the first one. She's not supposed to have any live vaccines. So at 18, when she went on her own, the nurse again had confronted Nikki, except she didn't have her dad and I with her. And she was on the phone with her father saying, I don't think I'm supposed to get this vaccine. And the nurse kind of ignored her and just went ahead and gave it to her. And so now I'm having to get lab work done and making sure she's okay. I mean, she was fine. And one vaccine isn't going to help her. You need 2 live vaccines for the chicken pox. So it was a big lesson for Nikki and us. All I could tell her was, it should have never happened. Hopefully next time you just, I guess, stand up, stand your ground and say, I need to be excused at this moment, and leave the room. I have no clue. That was the first time I had been confronted with that situation, and I wasn't there. So how awful.
Yeah. So So what you were dealing with was self-advocacy, right? And your child being able to, at that age, to be able to speak up for herself. And so that led to your putting together some packets and kits for our families. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
So, I've been doing this for 18 years. It's your normal procedure. Like I said, I got complacent. So I don't want everything to be so hard for the new transplant or special needs people who have to have special care or the family. And I thought these name badges around your neck, if as you go in, to make more aware to these nurses and doctors that these are my medications. This is what's wrong. And the biggest thing is to make things easier. You would think that because you go to a doctor for many years, that they would already know, but it's going to be the same questions every time, and it's probably protocol. So you might as well have all the information with you. It's what meds are you taking? You know, just information. It's very repetitive. So instead of it stressing you out, just take your badge and you have all the information for yourself and your child to learn what medications, if medications change, you can just change out your index card and keep up that way. And also, if there's an emergency, you know, you have this tag that you can take with you into an emergency. So doctors and nurses are aware that there are special needs, and then you're not having to stress out trying to explain to someone verbally because there's some kind of visual indication of allergies, you know, medications you might be on. And this is like being married. It's a commitment for the rest of your life. So I'm just wanting to help new families to make it easier and simpler and to realize that this is ongoing and it does get repetitive. But I'm hoping that y'all know that things after years, maybe you should have access and go over your files and make sure everything's just not to get complacent.
And with Nikki, not only with her being a liver recipient, but she also has a lot of food allergies also, and so it 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 really comes in handy um, that it helps your child um, be self-aware of all of her special needs and allergies and food especially with Nikki for just simple things of when you're even in school and allowing to let the teachers and the cooks and the counselors to know what your needs are and they have hundreds and hundreds of kids and so they can't remember so it's really important to let your child know and be aware of you know what their needs are, what their special needs are, so that they can let others know that and because they need to know those needs if not met can harm.
And that is another repetitive thing with the school. Every year, even though it's the same nurse, they have to ask every year the same questions because they don't know if your life has changed also.
So and we've had even an incident even at the in the emergency room when Nikki had cut her chin and especially in the emergency room they don't have your files or anything else like that and you never know if you're in the emergency room if you're knocked out unconscious when they get to be young adults and stuff like that it really helps to have all that information on hand just to let them know, because in regards to antibiotics that they might be allergic to and stuff like that, that they would give normal people or anesthetics and stuff like that, but are could be harmful for a transplant recipient.
Absolutely. And so these the cards that are in the lanyards are customizable, right? You can put whatever
Yeah.
information is most
Put
important.
stickers on them. Have fun with them.
Yeah.
Put a lung sticker, a liver sticker. I'm kidding. A heart
No.
sticker. Just thing. We're going through enough stress during COVID and what have you. It's just so nice to have that on hand, and because when you get there, it's like, oh, I have to answer these questions every change. If you already have it down, and if there's been a change, then the child starts memorizing too. So if your medications change, a younger child can start memorizing himself or herself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, wow. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our parents, especially our new parents, ones with younger children and in thinking about self-advocacy? When do you feel like parents should start thinking about that?
Right away.
Steps to take, yeah. Very early age.
Yeah, especially depending on how old your child is, when they receive their new organ. Like with Nikki, she had it when she was 6 months old, and of course, especially then, they're going through all of their early year shots that they have to get, for getting into school and everything else like that. The incident that my wife Nancy was talking about, it was basically what she was doing is she was getting set up for going to college, and they had to make sure that she had received all of her shots and everything else like that for the acceptance into UTSA. And it was at that time that the nurse was like, oh, well, you didn't have this one and you didn't have this one, I've got to give you all of these before you can get admitted into college. So I mean, right away, especially when it comes to all of your childhood shots, it's good that to start them off early and get them self-aware of not just the parents themselves, but the child themselves, to be aware of their needs, because as they're growing up too, and they go and you're finally letting them go to a friend's house overnight, they need to know that they have to have
Self-awareness.
self-awareness, that they have to have this pill at a certain time, that if they're allergic to their animals, cats, whatnot, they have to be aware of all that stuff when they're not around you, to be able to guard them. And so we feel it's just really, really important that the child is a part of this whole process and in the knowledge thereof.
So I do want to tell y'all that, so Nikki's 10, she's used to taking her pills. She has a medical box. We have tried all kinds of things, in and out, update things, this box is, just get her comfortable too, where it doesn't feel like a burden, because this is a lifetime commitment. So she had gotten her labs done, and her labs were showing that maybe something was wrong. Nikki hadn't been a couple of days, but she did say that she didn't take her pill for a couple of days. And I'm thinking, okay, I thought she was old enough. I don't want to burden her and check on her every single morning and day. Did you take your pill? Did you take your pill? Maybe you could write it down on a schedule and check mark it. But she said, and she's just a young girl. She said, well, I felt better. I didn't think I needed them anymore. And I'm like, oi, okay. Yes, you do need them. And the doctor did mention to her during her appointment, when you quit taking your pills and then your body rejects the organ, you can't just take a bunch more and then if your body rejects that organ, you have to start all over with a new organ. You can't just like retake the pills and get caught up, you know, it doesn't work that way. So we're very lucky that nothing happened to her and she didn't reject her organ. And so I just cautiously would check on her, you know, and just come up with new ways to check that your schedule. Have you missed your medication? She has a timer on her phone. Children use phones a lot today. So maybe a schedule on a phone, an alarm to let them know. Because, you know, there's a lot going on.
There is, and thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I know that our parents will learn so much from your story. And so I want to thank you for taking time today to do that. And certainly, we wish Nikki all the best at UTSA. We know
Yay.
she's going to do well.
So one last big point. She was asked to get her molars checked from her dentist, and oh my gosh, to have CHIPS insurance or Medicaid, you have to go through so much to get from one dentist to a surgeon. It's a lot. When I had thought I had finally found a good dentist to get her molars done, I had recommended to you and you had put it on to share it, you know, that I think I found a dentist that takes CHIPS. It's so hard to find a dentist that takes, you know, Medicaid and CHIPS. Well, they had prescribed her some medication and she was supposed to hurry that next morning, go to San Antonio, which is an hour and a half away. And they were, I was looking and I was reading the medication and it specifically said, do not give to immune suppressant patients. That's a big red alert. I'm like, oh my gosh. I thought by telling them she's a liver transplant recipient that they would, no, they were hurrying in to get her into surgery and have it done. So look over the medications, read them, read the side effects. And so whoever got that dentist that you put out, you just, it doesn't matter who, what dentist, you have to be careful. The dentists are just traveling from office to office and they said, oh no, we would never do that. But they finally instructed me, not they, the transplant team, go through the transplant team, have them coordinate with the dentist and know what meds they're allowed to have. They said normally they call us before they go through a procedure. So that's a red alert. So that's kind of something to learn in the future. You know, we're an adult transplant team now. Nikki's already in the adult phase. So, but yes, always go through the transplant team to know her dental medications also.
And any kind
because
of
Nikki always had to be on antibiotics before she even got a checkup, just so she didn't get bacteria into her system.
Right.
So self-awareness, educate yourself, and always go through your transplant team.
That's perfect advice. Yes, always be in touch with your transplant team and make sure they're aware of what you're doing, and they can. That's great advice. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.